We finally made it into Wrigley after an absolutely miserable day. We were cold, wet, and tired. We met up with Heather and Betty, set up camp, warmed up, dried out, and now we're going to start the real survey part of the trip as all the peregrines nest downriver from here.
If that's there, if you want to go check them.
Oh, way over there?
Yeah.
How do you get up there to do it?
I'll hike it. It's a couple hours hike.
Yeah. And even then, they're pretty fair cliffs by the looks of it.
Surprisingly or not, the water isn't all that cold. In every community we went by, we saw people swimming. It was actually a great way to take a bath and get cleaned up.
On the road again.
Yeah, we come all this way, Betty, just to do this.
Cool. That would be neat.
Just downstream from Wrigley are these hot springs, which are quite interesting. They're not all that hot, but we stopped to have a look and check them out.
Right. We have one site that far back that we can see the whitewash. We walked into it and got the area abandoned. If I saw a big splash of white, we'd be camping here tonight.
This area, and for much of it downstream towards Nunavik, has been burned out. This acts like a renewal, attracting a lot of birds, including the peregrines. We saw several bridges like this out in the middle of nowhere, and this is actually for the winter road that goes all the way from Wrigley up to Fort Good Hope. There's an example of what the winter road looks like.
Hello.
Hi.
Beautiful day. Yeah.
It certainly is. How's it going?
Good.
Are you fishing?
This is an American couple, John and Lizzie. They're wildlife technicians. We're interested in what we're doing, so they camp with us. We found a peregrine site right after this. We had a lovely evening, and then we checked it out in the morning.
I have this like little.
Push us, yeah.
This is our camp. That's John and Lizzie's tent and canoe. We had a very nice evening. I think Lizzie made something, Wayne made a dessert or something. We got a few bottles out. We sat and visited and talked, and then the next morning we went out and checked the peregrines, which is just up the valley here. I've gone down and checked out the site. Unfortunately, it had failed. There was only one adult or dead egg, which I collected for analysis. But Lizzie wanted to come down and see, so I'm standing there giving her a hand. The site is actually about where her foot is, and I think pretty good on her. She's pretty game to give that a shot. This shows you the difference between the gray water, the Mackenzie, and in this case the black water river that's coming in. The black water, named for obvious reasons, is from the tannins that are in the water, but still very good. We actually took some for drinking, and we camped here and had lunch.
A little deeper here. How far up do you want to go?
I just want to get on shore.
Okay.
Get ready. John, get up there. Get ready to jump.
Jumping off and landing the boat was my job.
Watch the rock here. Don't go behind it. Hit it. Hit the rock. Okay.
I'm taking this shot from one of the bridges for the winter road. It's just like any other normal bridge, except it doesn't seem to go anywhere. There you can see our boat where we had lunch, and there are the two rivers that are mixing, and you can see that quite clearly. Finally, what we'd all been waiting for is our first successful sight. This is Mum standing guard. Notice she's not that easy to see. This site actually wasn't that easy to find because the young were hidden in the foliage there, not far off the river though. You don't want these young any younger than they are now. They're about 2 weeks of age, and this is a pretty typical site. As you can see, right after doing that site, which is right behind Keith and Heather there, the weather turned miserable and not much fun. This is my tent, which was actually blown sideways about a foot while I was in it, and my boots, which I thought were covered up, weren't. This was by far the most miserable night that we spent. We had wind and water. This shows the boat afterwards. When we got in, I pulled the boat up, and then everybody got out. Of course, then it was lighter. I didn't secure it. We turned around, and there it was starting to float away. So Keith and I were running down the beach, stripping our clothes off to grab it. And the others said once they realized we were going to get it, it would have been a great America's Funniest Videos.
You can even go on shore there and see how much water. Well, maybe you can. Just thought it might be interesting.
The boat actually had a lot of water in it. You saw me bailing it out. There's the mark there. So it had about a foot of water, and that was just strictly from the rain and the wind, not from coming over top. We just got a lot of rain, not much fun. And here we are drying everything out.
Well, there's your moose.
Betty was the first to spot this. Initially, we couldn't figure out what it was. It turns out it's a cow and calf moose. The calf is fairly young. And as the river is over 2 kilometers across here and fairly swift, really quite a feat for the little guy. Took quite a bit of footage of it. Keith figures they do this to avoid wolves.
Oh, there she's hit bottom.
long as we don't hit bottom.
The little path.
Yeah.
This is just down from where they were. They were just around the corner there where the moose were, and this gives you an idea of the strength of the current there.
I've come to the conclusion that perhaps when I'm putting the stakes in, I need to push them all the way right down to the ground. Is that true?
And this is why there's so much silt in the water, and why the delta, which is 13,500 square kilometers, is so large because of all the slumpage that comes in here. And this, you see the huge areas here, you see this all along the river. Initially, we couldn't find this site, and we didn't believe it would be on those sandbanks. So I'm up on top in one direction, Keith went the other, and Wayne was down there. And it was clear that Wayne is closer to it because they pay more attention to the person that's closest, and the closer you get, the more aggressive they get.
These things, they twist around on you, but
Yeah.
it's like almost be able to grab it with your toes, you know.
That last site was quite uncommon because it was so exposed. This is more common where it's in a crack or a ledge there, and here Keith and I are processing the young. This is one of the prettier sites that we had on top of a rock cliff.
Yep.
This shows you the disadvantage of trying to go through the burned out area. It's very hard to traverse, although this is quite easy, as Keith points out.
Picturing the easy part of it.
Yeah. Whenever we got out, there were always tracks along shore. These are wolf tracks. This is one of the rare occasions that we made supper and kept going instead of making camp at the same time, but we wanted to make it into Tulita.
Yeah.
Some noodles.
No cheese sandwiches and noodles.
Oh, sounds delicious.
That's Heather's comment, and I've got to say she's probably the most positive person I've ever met and a pleasure to have on the trip.